staffing issues. I walked past a business that had that sign hanging on the window. The one we've all seen occasionally the last few years. Either business closed due to staffing issues, or in this case, the lobby was closed due to staffing issues. And a lot of times when people see that picture, or they might see it online, they have one of two perceptions. One of them is to blame the president, or blame Congress, or blame the economy, or blame young people for not wanting to work. Have you noticed that it's always the young people that don't want to work, and not people who look like those that are saying nobody wants to work? Now, in this case, it made me think, because I've noticed I do a lot of thinking on Sunday morning. But it made me think about how we respond to situations. Whether our first instinct is to blame, or if our first instinct is to, wow, I lost the word. That's also traditional for a Sunday morning. Whether we have empathy for those who are involved in whatever the situation is, or whether we feel selfish, or like we were the ones put out by having to shop at a different place, or use the drive-thru instead of walk in, or whatever the case might be. But the direction that I'm thinking this morning is, I wonder how similar that particular business is to the one that I work at. We've got 17 people on staff in my department, and 12 of them are college students. So there's large parts of every day that they can't work. There's some with more than one job, so there's times of the day where they can't work. There's times of the week where there's only a few people, and if one of them calls out, we could be the one hanging that sign. But there's no reason to blame the president for having college kids who are willing to work. That's the opposite of what people have been saying about college kids. There's always a backstory when people hang a sign that says lobby closed due to staffing issues. Other times, we might blame a business and say, if a business treated workers better, they wouldn't all quit at the same time. Because, when people post a picture, they can write whatever story that they want attached to it, and very few people will know the truth. We all saw that during the hurricane, when large parts of Northeast Tennessee were out of power. Lots and lots of false rumors and pictures floated around with false stories. And the people who were most affected could not declare them false. They couldn't show the evidence because, they were without power or connection to the internet. They might not have even seen it. But it was shocking to me. The worst one being that there were accusations about volunteers who came to the area. And these false accusations put people at risk. People were shot at, people were driven away, people were not able to be helped because of other people's belief in false rumors. People got mad for no reason. There was one particular day where there was a rumor floating around online that ministers were being kicked out of shelters. And it made me laugh because I had just been told that the shelters were making a call out to any available minister to show up and help out. And unfortunately, people believe the falsehood rather than the truth. But the reason I mention all this on a Sunday morning is not to talk about politics, even though politics do impact our lives, and people often will put their politics above their religion and often will put their politics above their good sense. And they often want to believe in whatever politics that they have rather than seeking the truth behind, for example, a sign that says lobby closed. But the reason I mention it on a Sunday is because churches too often close and people want to assign blame. And often that blame falls along the same reasons as a lobby closed time. They blame it on people who don't want to go to church anymore. And it's always those people that look differently than themselves. If a 50-year-old says people don't want to go to church anymore, they're very rarely talking about 50-year-olds. They're more often specifically talking about some other generation or some other people who live in a different place. Or if the reason for closing is because not enough people are volunteering to do the work, they blame those people instead of getting back to the basics of church, where all you need is a few chairs in a circle. You don't need a bunch of volunteers. Or you feel like you don't have a minister, you don't have a guitarist, or you don't have this or that or the other thing. The church was just fine for thousands of years without all those things. And they'll be fine for thousands of years after those things if we don't see Jesus come back in our lifetime. So I'd encourage everyone to think twice before you jump to assigning blame. Because oftentimes, just a few seconds of thinking or reflecting will be enough for God to show us a lesson. And oftentimes that lesson involves our own empathy, our own humility, and the fact that we should all seek the truth instead of inventing whatever story comes to our mind when we see a picture or a sign.